My chickens got me through some of the hardest parts of the pandemic. I got them as baby chicks in March 2020, and I spent my days in lockdown raising them, cleaning up after them, hanging out with them, bonding with them, and being thoroughly entertained by them. They brought me so much joy. And now that we're seeing some semblance of normalcy starting to return, in comes avian influenza or bird flu. So I'm not here today to talk to you about a lot of the science behind the bird flu. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about proper biosecurity protocols. I will share with you that information in the description, because I think that those things are very important. It's important to understand what is happening, where it is happening, and what we can do to keep our flocks safe. What I want to spend the bulk of the time on today is how can we give that joy back to them if our birds are having to experience flockdown and stay in their runs to stay safe from this new pandemic for our chickens. Okay, a little bit more about the bird flu. It is a highly infectious bird disease that is spread primarily through waterfowl, migrating waterfowl, and their feces. I'll post a couple links in the description more about the disease itself and also about how you can track where it is. At the time of this filming, I'm in Colorado, and it has been confirmed as close as eastern Kansas to me. So I've been keeping an eye on that, and I'm taking a couple things into account. First of all, I have an irrigation ditch that runs part of the year on this side of our property. And then across the street on this side, there is a lake that is an Audubon sanctuary and has a lot of waterfowl in any time of the year. And in addition to that, we have dogs. We go on dog walks. There's a lot of Canadian geese in town, and we encounter them, and we see their poop, and we probably walk in their poop. And the dogs come into the backyard where my chickens live as well. So considering all of this, it makes it very hard for me to maintain biosecurity with my chickens to keep them safe. So I have made the decision to put my chickens in flockdown to keep them safe. Okay, so if your girls have to be in flockdown, maybe it's for the bird flu, maybe it's also winter time and you're getting a lot of snow and they are scared of the scary white stuff like my girls are. For whatever reason, if you have to keep your chickens cooped up in their run, I'm going to give you some ideas that you can use to help stimulate them and be some boredom busters so they don't do those naughty things like picking on each other and that kind of thing. First, basically, when you look around, I look around and see what I have around already. Try not to spend a lot of money on things. And the thing I did today, just did this today, was I found some kind of branches, and we had some like cedar blocks and stuff. So I kind of started thinking, okay, like, can I put something together for them in their coop that gives them something different to, you know, perch on, to kind of run around on. And so what I ended up doing, I found some other pieces of wood, and I ended up making this extra kind of roosting bar for them that I'm going to add to their run in a spot that they have where they like to hang out kind of in the corner. And so that was a really easy project. It took me about 10 or 15 minutes. Just probably most of that time was finding all the everything I needed to make it happen, all the screws and things like that. But it was pretty easy to do. So just look around and see if you have something that can create more space for perching and roosting and things like that. And this is one other thing I made for them once when they were just little, and they didn't have as much run space as they do now. When they were just kind of acclimating to coming outside. This is a roost or perch that I made for them when they were little, but they still use it. It's kind of interesting. I just took two of these like cedar blocks and a stick, screwed them in, boom. And they've had that for a couple years now and still sit on it. And so that was another easy thing to make out of things that were just lying around. The next kind of set of things I have here involve treats and food. So I don't like to give a lot of treats to my birds. I like to minimize it, and I want them to mainly just eat their food that I buy them that's their pellets. But I do occasionally give them some treats. And especially when I feel like they're could be getting bored, I like to incorporate not just like handing out of the treats, but like how can they have some enrichment while getting those treats. So some of my favorite things are the classic cabbage on a stick or on a string. You can screw a hole, drill a hole through the middle of the cabbage and string it up on some twine. I also have one of these kind of skewer things on a chain that you just basically stab through the cabbage, and then there's some washer and a bolt kind of, or a nut on the end that holds it on there. And then I have a bungee cord. I just hang it down in there, and so they're kind of like knocking it back and forth while they tear off pieces of the cabbage. My girls, they like me to start at 4. I think they're a little spoiled, but they like to like have some dangling. So if you find your chickens haven't done this and they're a little scared of it, if you pull off a little and then they get a taste of it, then as soon as one starts, the rest will jump in. If you give them purple cabbage, this is a little side note, I sometimes get teal colored poop from them, which is kind of interesting, but if you so desire. The second thing I do is I will take these kind of metal kebab skewers, and you can use the wooden ones too. I just like the metal ones because you can reuse them, and you can skewer different things. I have some Brussels sprouts that need something, they're on their last leg, and some grapes here. But if you had like I sometimes during the holidays I'll have cranberries. You can do cranberries, you can do, you know, cherry tomatoes or whatever you might have. Again, I try not to give them a lot, but just put a few things on there, and then you can stab these into the ground, and then they have something to pick off of. You can also make like a flock block or a seed cake for your girls, and use one of these suet cages that you would get for wild birds. You don't want to use the ones that you've been using for wild birds if you do feed your wild birds. Get a new one. But I make a flock block, especially in the winter time, that has like seeds and things like that in it, and then I just put it in this cage, and then I hang this cage up just kind of on their door, and they can pick at it. I will post a link to the flock block that I like to make in the description. It's from Fresh Eggs Daily, so I will share that with you. And then the other thing I do is I have some of these, again, these enrichment toys for them that I put some, I use the Grubbly black soldier fly larva, but you could use mealworms or whatever else that you like to treat them, or you can use their food. This actually works with their food as well. For this one's made by Omelet. None of these people have paid me, by the way. These are just the things that I have and like. This is from Omelet, and this one you just kind of would scoop out the food or the mealworms or whatever you're using and put that on, and this one just stakes into the ground, and they have to peck at this to get anything that's inside to kind of fly out, and so it's like they have to work for it. I love these little treat balls too. These are really easy. Again, I just scoop up some Grubblies or their food or whatever, and I put this in, and they have to kick these around. There's little holes on either end. They have to kick them around to get the food out. So again, enrichment on top of getting some treats. So it's a really good boredom buster. The other thing that I will do, especially when I know they haven't had access to like kind of getting out in the grass and things like that, is I have some, I got some like wheatgrass seeds on the internet, and I use one of these sprouting trays. So it has kind of the mesh tray that fits into the reservoir here, and then it has a lid. And so what you do is you just I usually put like maybe like a half a cup or a quarter of a cup in here, and I let it soak overnight, let the seeds soak, and then drain it. And then every day I just rinse this out under the sink, just so you want to keep it rinsed really well so you don't get things growing. And then I put it back in the tray so it can drain, and then I put the lid on, and then as soon as they start sprouting, I make sure I have it in like a window underneath some light so it'll green up. And then once it gets, you know, an inch or two long and it's green, I'll take chunks of this and throw it in for my girls, and it gives them something green to nibble on and snack on. Some people I've seen just put the whole thing in there. I like to kind of divvy it out over a few days. So that's another idea. Again, that has to do with food. So if you're really wanting to stay away from treating, and you can use things like this, like I said, with their food. But the last tip I have for you is a really fun one. I think it's the funnest to watch for me. And I purposely in the fall set aside a stash of leaves that I've raked up out of the yard. I take a couple of raised beds that I have and just pile them up with leaves, and then I have a little cover on the raised beds so they don't get all wet and moldy and gross and stuff. And then periodically I go into the raised bed and I scoop some leaves out and I just throw it in for my girls. You know, chickens, they don't like a pile. They're gonna spread it out. They're gonna find any bugs that are in there, and it gives them just like a lot of fun time. So I'll show you that as my last tip for things that I do for my girls for Boredom Busters. Okay, right now they're a little unsure of what I'm doing, but I'm gonna show you how I just pop in some leaves for them. I hope some of these tips helped. If you appreciated anything that I had to share with you today, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below about what you do for your girls when they're stuck inside.